This is Sid and Friends in the morning.
77 WABC.
I got to be here today till 2 o'clock. You believe that? 2 o'clock.
Oh, good.
Later even than you. You're going to leave before me because a main man who I love dearly, my Uncle Bo Deedle. Uncle Bo there. He do his podcast today, and he asked me to be a guest, and I never say no to Bo, no matter what he asks.
Because come on the podcastatation. You can do that.
Podcastatation.
Come on.
So I'm going to do that with Bo at 2 o'clock today. Bo's got his Christmas party this year on the 23rd, which I'm going to go to. It's always nice. That Italian restaurant here in Midtown. It's a nice crowd. So we'll do the Bo podcast today. It's a long day.
Oh, good. Then you're going to be wandering around, bowling into everybody.
All bothering you guys.
Good, yeah.
Well, I got to do an interview for Shriners Children's, I believe. Then I'm doing an interview with Channel 14 in Israel, live, with my friend Libby. And then I think Governor Abbott's going to be here. I don't know. There's a lot going on. Peter King, in my lifetime, the best two local politicians. And I'm not even sure it's close. Pete King and Rudy Giuliani. Pete's on every Wednesday, the great congressman. Peter, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Shit, I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I want to get your serious thoughts, no back and forth, on Ukraine. People know how you feel,
Yeah.
they know how I feel. It doesn't matter. Biden's on his way out. Trump is on his way in. So you tell me, because you're smart, okay? Where are we with the war? What do you think about this latest development with these weapons? And now Putin saying, you know what? Maybe I'll go to my nuclear weapons even quicker. What are your thoughts on the whole Russia-Ukraine mess?
Yeah, as you know, I strongly support defending Ukraine, not because of Ukraine, because of the United States and because of Western Europe, and also to break up this alliance between China, Iran, and Russia. Now, I don't know what Biden's motives were. I mean, he could have done this a year ago, and he should have. But by doing it now, in many ways, and hear me out on this one, this could help President Trump. President Trump wants to have honest negotiations. Well, it was Putin who broke the status quo here by bringing in tens of thousands of North Korean troops. So you have that. Now, by giving Zelensky the right to use our missiles, that evens that and makes it easier, I think, for Trump to get a negotiation. Otherwise, this was being heavily tipped in Russia's favor by those use of those North Korean troops. That was firming up Russia's stand, weakening Ukraine to make it harder to get any kind of an honest deal out of negotiations. So I think Biden may have been doing it just to play games, but I think it could work for President Trump's benefit and for Ukraine's and for the purpose of getting negotiations. But also, I know that you think it's sort of nonsense that you may be attacking Poland and all that. The reality is you get countries like Sweden and Finland for 50 years, 60 years, they refused to join NATO because they didn't think it was necessary. They were right on the edge of Russia. They are now in NATO because they are so concerned about Russian aggression.
That is true.
And so, I mean, this is a real threat. We can't just ignore it and say, oh, this is Putin playing games. No, I think Putin is very serious about they're playing the long game. If he can win here, if all the European nations and the United States lined up cannot stop the aggression into Ukraine, then certainly are we going to stop it into Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania? Unless he just wants to take part of Poland, the way Hitler just wanted to take part of Czechoslovakia. So I think, listen, I probably would have a stronger position on this than President Trump does, but I have faith in him in negotiations, and I think Biden, whether he intended that way or not, may have firmed up Trump's hand as far as getting a better deal with Putin.
All right, smart analysis. But I will ask you this, Peter. The folks that are ardent supporters of Trump, like me, and of course you support him too, the policies. Many of us believe him when he said during his campaign, listen, the war's over. I take over, the war's over. And a lot of us thought it's as easy as he's going to make a phone call, kind of like The Godfather. He's going to call Putin. I don't know what he's going to say, but really as easy as that. I'm going to call Putin. This thing is going to be over. Is that possible, or is that just the Trump supporter believing Trump's words?
No, I think it's certainly possible. The reason I say that is Putin did nothing when Trump was in office. I mean, he moved on Georgia, he moved on Ukraine when Obama was in office. With all the talk about Russia collusion, which was garbage and nonsense from the start, Putin didn't move an inch when the whole 4 years of Donald Trump was there. Nor did China, nor did Iran move against Israel or Hezbollah. I mean, this is Donald Trump does have that capacity, and I'm just saying this could firm up his position as far as making the threat to Putin, for instance, to say, listen, Zelensky already has, the authority to use those missiles. I can pull it back, but I'm not going to pull it back unless you give me X, Y, and Z.
He's already made some important choices. I'm good friends with David Friedman. He's a guy who lives in your county, Nassau County. He did not bring him back, but I do like Mike Huckabee quite a bit. Mike and I have talked a bunch of times already since Trump named him the ambassador to Israel. He also named, talking about Bo Dietl, his buddy Stevie Witkoff as the envoy to the Middle East. So he's made some important decisions in some important regions, but not all of Trump's picks are getting applauded, even by Republicans. I tend to give him the benefit of the doubt because I believe there's a method behind all of his madness. What does Peter King think so far about these Trump picks?
I think most of the appointments have really been great. John Radcliffe with intelligence.
Like that? You like that?
Yeah,
do you like Tulsi Gabbard, DNI?
Okay, let me say, I like Tulsi personally. Let me see a few questions I have, and I think she's very qualified, extremely intelligent. She was on my committee. As far as I could tell, we always had a good relationship. Very, very good person, dedicated soldier. The questions I have, and I hope these can come out at the hearing, is that she was opposed to the killing of Soleimani. She was opposed to pulling out of the Iranian deal. Now, both of those, to me, were high points in President Trump's administration. So I think she has the ability, she has the capacity, but I think on those issues she should explain why and whether or not her positions now are in accord in the Middle East.
Well, I think I know why. It's because even though she served, she's so quick to say every time she's on, war's a last resort. Don't forget, she doesn't like Marco Rubio, because she thinks Marco Rubio is like John Bolton. He's a war hawk. Back in July, when Donald Trump was putting together his list of possible vice presidents, she went out of her way to malign Marco Rubio. So I think part of her thinking is, killing people and wars and all that. That's a last resort. Is that possible?
It is possible. Again, then I would disagree with her on that. I think Donald Trump performed a great world service by killing Soleimani. I think that he did a great service to Israel and the United States by pulling out of that phony Iran deal that Obama had. So I think, listen, I don't question her motives. I don't question her intentions. I think she's a really wonderful person. I always liked dealing with her. And I don't mean that in a patronizing way. She was smart. She's tough. She knows what she's doing. I just think on that she has to show that her policies would be in sync with President Trump's.
That's fair. What do you think about Gates?
I don't like the guy from when I knew him in the House. I think that I know what.
Well, listen, I don't care. Listen, it's kind of like Trump. I told people you don't got to like him. Put the clothespin on and just vote for him. I don't care whether you like him. Do you think that he'd be the guy to destroy all these services that have been going after people like Donald Trump for years?
I don't think you need him to do that because you need somebody who's also really qualified as a lawyer and is going to do it in an orderly, professional way. I think there are any number of really top conservative lawyers you can put in there who can clean out that Justice Department, get rid of all those phonies there, make sure the FBI doesn't go off on its own the way it has, and yet still not attract all the controversy around them. That's all. I mean, I don't find when I say I don't like the guy, I didn't even know him that well personally. I don't think he's reliable. I think you can always throw a grenade in him. You have to be able to go in and govern after the grenade has gone off. I don't think he's capable of doing that. So I think there's any number of other top choices that Trump could use, hardline conservatives, people who really believe the Justice Department has abused itself. Listen, what they have done, Donald Trump, we all know what they've done to him, which is absolutely disgraceful. But they can do that to anyone they want. That's the real threat. When Donald Trump said, they're coming after me now, they can come after you tomorrow, that's the real threat.
Yeah.
Somehow, Donald Trump can always take care of himself. He's a tough guy. But the average guy out there is some business guy who's involved in politics, and they decide to go after him. Or someone who's a political enemy. They can go after. That has to be stopped. It has to be ended. And I just think there's people better qualified than Matt Gaetz. Let me go back to John Radcliffe. I mentioned him. He went to Notre Dame like I did. He was my wife's nephew's roommate at Notre Dame.
Oh, wow.
So, So I met. I mean, suddenly I feel old. John Radcliffe in the contract. He comes to Congress a few years ago, and he's, I was a roommate with your nephew in Notre Dame. And all. So suddenly I'm feeling like I'm this, the older guy. And now he's running a whole intelligence department.
That's awesome.
The CIA.
Yeah, I like him too. Yeah, I like him too.
Really a solid.
Yeah. By the way, the Fighting Irish started the year with that terrible loss to Northern Illinois. We're like, oh my God, they got the kid from Duke, and what a terrible year it's going to be. They look unbeatable the last 2 months. So
good. And Saturday night's game at Yankee Stadium playing Army. This is like going back to the 1940s and 50s when Notre Dame and Army were the two top teams.
Army's undefeated.
Yes, they are. Yeah, undefeated, 9-0. Notre Dame is 9-1. And also, it's great to have teams that aren't going to go crazy with the end zone celebrations and all that kind of stuff. Two solid schools. And so I hope Notre Dame wins by 1 point.
Yeah, I wish that they made a bigger deal about that. You know, Yankee Stadium, you got Army, and I think Vinny Viola's going to come to this, and you got Notre Dame, the combined 18-1. You're right, Pete. That's a big, big deal at Yankee Stadium. One more, I want to stay local, because it wasn't that long ago, Peter King, that you kind of liked Kathy Hochul. You weren't alone. A lot of folks on both sides of the aisle kind of liked her. But then she took over for Cuomo, and now I don't know anybody that likes her, except for one person, Mayor Eric Adams. How tone-deaf is the mayor to come out yesterday, congratulate Kathy Hochul on a 40% reduction when the truth is congestion pricing goes from 0 to 9?
It's actually horrible. First of all, it's a bad decision. It's wrong. But even worse than that is the hypocrisy of thinking that people are stupid enough to think that going from 0 to 9 is a 15 to 9 cutback. This is absolutely disgraceful what she's doing. She's lying to the people in New York. She's taking them for being suckers. Yeah, listen, Kathy Hochul was on my committee. She was in Congress for a year and a half. She won a special election, and then she lost the next time around. She was on the Homeland Security Committee. She was very reasonable to deal with. Her husband was a big prosecutor upstate New York. She had nothing to do with the crazies. And I just forgot she'd be a voice of sanity. I didn't know that she would, her first week in office, she went to the left of Andrew Cuomo. And now she's just down the line with them as to why Eric Adams is with her. I think he's playing for survival. You know, she could pull him out of office on a moment's notice. He knows that. He has a lot hanging over him. So I think he is basically wants to stay on her good side. That doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help New York. In the end, it's probably not going to help him either. But it's it's New York. When Rosemary was saying this morning, 3 stabbings, 3 people stabbed to death. Yeah. And it's not even getting the coverage it should. That would have stopped. That would have been insane. And then at the same time, Daniel Penny, which to me is the outrage of the century, to have that Doug Bragg putting this guy on trial when he was trying to protect people. Too bad we didn't have more Daniel Pennies on the street when that lunatic was running around stabbing people. But who the hell are you? Right. I mean, you're a tough guy. Right. But are you going to risk your family and your freedom by doing the right thing, or having some guy like Bragg can indict you for attempted murder or manslaughter? Absolute disgrace. Tom Caniff is doing a great job. But I tell you that not only should he be acquitted, but Penny should get the Medal of Honor, whatever the highest award is in New York. Give it to Daniel Penny. I got to tell you, this may have been your best appearance ever. I mean that sincerely. Your Ukraine breakdown was terrific. The local stuff was great. The picks for Trump was great. This was a magnificent appearance, Pete King. Thank you. Give my best to your lovely wife, Rosemary, and thank you very much. That was awesome. Thank you. And I'll probably screw it up next week, but I'll take it today. Thank you. Thank you, Sid. Okay. Enjoy the game on Saturday night. That's a great appearance by Peter King right there. That was great. And he's right. That's a big game on Saturday. 9-1 Notre Dame taking on undefeated Army at Yankee Stadium.